guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Bitcoin, relatively neutral, not really different price-wise from what it was during yesterday's video. Now, we did have a little bit of up and down. We tried to break again over the $15,500 level. We wicked all the way back down to the $14,825 level, and we are still going sideways. Now, interestingly enough, we had what we thought was starting to be a good day for the stock market, and then the S&P actually ended negative, and now we are back down to levels that we pretty much had around November 5th. So what is happening? What is going on? Well, we need to talk about, once again, the fear and greed pretty high for Bitcoin. However, despite any recent pullbacks that we could potentially see for Bitcoin, what I really want to talk about today is the quote-unquote normalization of Bitcoin. You are seeing so many traditional investors, millionaires, billionaires getting involved in Bitcoin. Recently, we had billionaire Stan Druckenmiller. He came out and he's a famous hedge fund manager, and even he said that he has some Bitcoin allocated to his portfolio. And one thing I want to talk about specifically is the fact that, we look at all these different charts, and I do want to go over some charts today. It does look like Bitcoin could be setting up for an interesting move. However, we need to talk about the fundamentals, the fact that we could potentially have a supply crunch for Bitcoin. Lots of coins moving off the exchanges, and we are seeing long-term hodlers putting them in their hardware wallets. So lots of interesting things. And Plan B, he says we could see a $100,000 Bitcoin, a $300,000 Bitcoin by the end of next year. A lot of people say that's not possible. Well, we're just looking at the numbers. We're not considering what could happen if the demand really got out of hand and we didn't have enough supply to actually meet that demand. So we're going to talk about that. Also, I do have some bullish indicators, some moving averages we haven't looked at for quite some time, and some people saying, well, should I be buying Bitcoin at around these levels? Surprisingly, there is still a very famous indicator that says even at these levels, it's still a great buy for Bitcoin. So pretty positive video today. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it, and let's dive in to the chart. So we can see right here, we are still having that massive rejection at around that critical $16,355 level. Over on the CME futures chart, I did mention multiple times that we could be forming a gigantic double bottom. This is something I would keep my eyes on. Bitcoin does like to do these double bottoms, but interestingly enough, you could see that since we had the major drop down during the Black Swan event of the pandemic in the beginning of the year, we have never been able to break above this level. And recently, Bitcoin not only broke above this trend line, but actually tested it and bounced off of it. And it does look like we are forming a potential bull pennant of some sort, which I'll get to in a second. But the other thing I want to mention too is if I just take all this away and we look at simply just the moving averages, you can see that we actually had a golden cross right back here where we had the 50 moving above the 100 and the 200. And then right here, we actually had the 100 move above the, back here, we had the 100 move above the 200, and the 50 is still above the 100. So if you don't know what any of that means, we essentially had a double golden cross, and this shows us that we are in a strong bull trend, and the trend is your friend until the end. And we are not looking for any major crashes. Sure, we could have some corrections. As you can see right here, we are getting to the end of this sort of triangle formation. Now, having a look right here, we could break out to the upside. If we do, all Bitcoin would really have to do is get above the $15,800 level, and, we could be seriously heading for some new all-time highs even sooner than we had anticipated previously. However, if we were to have a bit of a pullback, I do want to just mention that we also could be forming a giant formation, which I am keeping my eyes on. If we do get rejection here, we may actually be forming this giant ascending triangle. It's more of like an asymmetrical triangle. So that would, we could test the heart line here and potentially come back down. But short term, you're still only looking at about a $13,400 Bitcoin. Having a pullback from that level would still only be, a 12% correction. So would you buy the dip? I certainly would, because I do think that once we break these levels, we are going to be going absolutely parabolic. Now, for people saying, should I be buying Bitcoin at these levels? Well, I'm not going to tell you when to buy Bitcoin, not financial advice. But if you do have guys like plan B saying we could potentially go to 100K or even almost 300K, I would say that even buying at these levels is still a good opportunity. And interestingly enough, you have the CEO from CryptoQuant. He mentions the all exchange inflow means, the MA7, or better known as the buy the dip indicator, right? So he explains that we are still in a strong buy zone. He says after the price plunge, there have been subsequent exchange inflows by whales for two reasons. Number one, in the bull market, to sell it at the local high. They sell when retail investors are active on exchanges. And number two, in the bear market, to sell if the unusual fear sell happens. However, we have seen that although there was a recent inflow from miners and some whales, the overall exchange total Bitcoin holdings has decreased drastically, roughly 9%, right? So the number of Bitcoin whale entities, clusters of addresses held on single network participants holding at least 1,000 Bitcoin has rose to a 4-year high. And this is where the whole supply crunch comes in. So between Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust, MicroStrategy, the influx of other large buyers, the supply of Bitcoin is actually getting extremely scarce, with only about 12% left to be released. That's not a lot of Bitcoin for the rest of the world that's not holding right now. Retail investors took direct custody of their coins by moving them into their own wallets, adding to the drying up of the sell side liquidity. The total number of Bitcoins held on exchanges has fallen in the past 2 months, 9%, like I just said, and the decline in exchange balances is indicating strong holding sentiment in the market. Now, Plan B, he says that he does in fact have new data. I don't know where the data is. Maybe he's going to be releasing the data soon. He is the creator of the stock to flow that confirms his model and saying Bitcoin will in fact hit 100K to $288,000 by the end of next year. And he also posted in this tweet, he said, watch how those Bitcoins are pretty much being bought up. There's weak hand selling. And he says he's seen hundreds of smart, small 0.01 BTC algo buys. Those Bitcoin will disappear into deep cold storage, right? You even have millionaire and philanthropist Bill Pulte saying 20 hours ago, Wall Street has started to pick up the wisdom of Bitcoin. Better late than never. The future is bright, and we will be starting Christmas early this year. Stay tuned. So are they really getting involved? Does Wall Street actually care? Or is this just a story that we in the crypto space have fabricated to just push out in our echo chamber and make us all feel good about our Bitcoin investments? Well, let's move over to this tweet that I retweeted from Lark Davis. We have legendary investor Stan Druckenmiller. He's a very famous hedge fund manager, billionaire, saying that he owns Bitcoin. And if you guys didn't have a second to watch this clip, it's only 38 seconds. I'll play it super quick for you.
I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I have warmed up to the fact that Bitcoin could be an asset class that has a lot of attraction to it as a store of value to both millennials and the new West Coast money. And as you know, they got a lot of it. It's been around for 13 years, and with each passing day, it picks up more of its stabilization of a brand. So I own many, many more times gold than I own Bitcoin. But frankly, if the gold bet works, the Bitcoin bet will probably work better because it's thinner and more liquid and has a lot more beta to it.
And this is very, very true. So he even says, I might be a dinosaur, and yes, I do own more gold than Bitcoin, but over the long run, we are seeing lots of traditional investors like Paul Tudor Jones, for example, considering Bitcoin as the best play as a hedge, right? Against inflation, particularly after the Federal Reserve has introduced the 2% inflation target strategy. Bitcoin has become even more attractive to these investors. In fact, you can see right here, Dan Tapiro, he said only 3% Bitcoin position in the past 5 years would have increased performance of a 60-40 portfolio from 6.8% to 10.2%. And Raul Pal, I've spoke about him multiple times on the channel. He's the CEO of Real Vision Group. He further noted that investors like Druckenmiller longing Bitcoin should not be understated in what may be a watershed moment. He said the significance of the world's greatest and most respected money manager, Stan Druckenmiller, saying now that he is long on Bitcoin, it basically has removed every obstacle for any hedge fund or endowment to invest. I mean, at this point, if you're not in, literally, what are you actually waiting for, right? Now, also, let's talk about some more people getting involved in Bitcoin. You have former Australian politician Cory Bernardi, who sat in the local Senate from 2006 to 2020. He admits that he has been converted to Bitcoin as of late, and that the demand for Bitcoin is, in fact, growing stronger. The former politician has compared Bitcoin to gold, calling it the millennials version of gold. He admits that, of course, there are risks associated, but they are similar to risks in any other asset classes. So it's not like a risk that you couldn't get by buying Tesla stock or holding gold either, right? Last year's studies, in fact, proved that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies overall are preferred mostly by millennials who would rather invest in digital assets over the stock market or even real estate. This is a huge contrast to the baby boomer generation. Now, we're talking about just Bitcoin, right? Cryptocurrencies, altcoins, right? Altcoins have been doing quite well recently. There have been a handful of them. A few of my altcoins, actually, one of them was up 100% yesterday. Crazy. So yeah, altcoins are starting to take off. But let's talk about the DeFi space, right? We had a crazy DeFi bubble. Let's admit it. Things got out of hand. We were farming pickles and every other thing. Now, there are a lot of risks associated with decentralized finance. There are a lot of risks associated with being your own bank, holding your own private keys. We saw these rug pulls, liquidity dropping off of exchanges, people being held, holding bags, 90% drops in a day, right? So I think as we move forward, it's important to recognize that, yes, the bubble may have, I don't believe it popped. I think it just had a little bit of a setback. We had to sort of clean the space a little bit, but there are some projects out there that are looking to legitimize the DeFi space and bring them to the masses. Actually, one of the projects, Alliance Block, they did very well yesterday, and they're a project that is also bridging as well. And another one that's coming out soon is Union. Now, they just recently raised $4 million, and they're planning to utilize their funds to develop and launch a set of tools that will further reduce the DeFi risk levels. Now, they had an amazing lineup. Some of the people that invested in this included Alameda Research, Spark Digital Capital, Solidity Ventures, 3 commas, right? 3 commas, they're really great for arbitrage, or if you want to do like automated API bot trading. Cluster Capital, Black Edge Capital, Alpha Chain. So this is definitely a project I'm keeping my eyes on. And Union says that the DeFi industry boomed in 2020, especially in the past several months, when the total value got up to from 1 billion to 12 billion, but the rapid increase also highlighted several issues within the industry. They say this includes scalability, high transaction costs, and probably the most important one is security. There's no way that you're going to get people to care about decentralized finance when it's basically overrun with a bunch of scam projects and really weird vegetable token farmings. I mean, people want to use something that has real application, that sort of represents something that they're used to, things that we actually use now. And they basically say that the entire DeFi ecosystem could enter into the next phase of exponential growth, but we're only going to be able to do it if those problems are actually faced. So I'm not saying I'm like bearish on altcoins. It's just I'm keeping my eyes on the ones that I actually think are going to be solving the problem. We had our fun where you could, close your eyes, throw the dart, farm some pickles and make money. Now we need to focus on the real winners in the space. And if you guys don't know what Union is doing, they basically say that DeFi participants can now manage the multi-layer risks across smart contracts and protocols in one scalable system. And they're going to decrease the barriers for the entry of retail users. And they also are looking to lay the foundation for institutional investors. Now, keep in mind, decentralization. So we have no KYC, no members. DeFi is an open industry, and they're saying that your protection should be as well. That is one of the big problems. If you don't want to be overseen by centralized entities, you don't want to, have your password stored in a database, well, then when you lose your password, or if you lose your keys, you have no one to call, and you can only blame yourself, right? So their inclusive protocol has no special requirements preventing cover purchase and capital inflow. So two of the things that they're really helping as far as their solutions, the first one is their bundled protection. Now, this is supposedly going to provide DeFi users with this bundled protection featuring different layers of coverage and segregated underwriter exposure, so complete protection offers broader coverage and cost savings seen in the traditional insurance market, and secondary market for protection will enable individuals to trade risks and implement sophisticated risk management strategies traditionally reserved for institutional finance. So this is how you're going to bring the institutions into the DeFi space. The protection market benefits from secondary liquidity and distribution, allowing it to ultimately scale more efficiently. Now, they do have a multi-token model, which is something that I'll have to really look into and see how this is going to work. They're going to have a governance token, a protection policy token, and a protection pool token. So definitely something to keep your eyes on. I'm definitely looking at Union, guys. They have some incredible backing, lots of big names behind them. So, these are the type of projects that I look for if I'm looking for a potential altcoin investment. Not saying to invest, but I'm just saying these are the things that I'm looking for, and I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on that moving forward. But, getting back to the charts, guys, as I said, yes, we could potentially be having this consolidation. We could have a drop down to these levels, but ultimately, the way that I'm seeing it, Bitcoin is catching these previous resistance, flipping them support. We're above all major moving averages. The supply is moving off the exchanges. Big hedge fund, traditional billionaire, millionaire managers, and publicly traded companies are looking to Bitcoins. And you have projects like Union coming out, really trying to bridge the traditional to the DeFi and creating those tools that the traditional investors are already used to. So I don't see the space slowing down anytime soon. It's definitely growing, and yeah, pleasure, honor for you to be joining me once again on this channel. You guys do rock. You are the reason that I do this for the most part every single day. Thanks again. If you guys want to join the free Telegram group, links are below in the description. It's absolutely free. Anyone can join. We hang out. We talk cryptocurrencies all day. It's a really fun place to sometimes it can get a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes we get some trolls in there, but ultimately it is fun. So thanks again for coming back. You guys rock. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, you know the drill. Stay crypto, and of course, peace out.